Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down how you can make your ideas unforgettable, how you can finally make sure your voice is actually heard, and we're pulling all the core principles from the book, Amplify Your Influence.
So, let's just start with a feeling that I bet every single one of us knows. You're in a meeting, right? You share an idea, you think it's a great idea, and crickets, just silence. But then, maybe 10 minutes later, somebody else says basically the exact same thing, and suddenly everyone's like, wow, that's brilliant. It is just so frustrating, isn't it? Well, that feeling of being unheard, it's more than just an awkward moment. It's actually a huge barrier to your success. And why is that? Because your ability to influence people is directly, one-to-one, tied to the impact you can make in your job, with your team, and pretty much everywhere in your life. The ideas we're talking about today come from Rene Rodriguez's fantastic book, Amplify Your Influence. And he makes this really powerful argument: feeling unheard isn't a personality flaw. It's a strategy problem. And the good news is, it's a problem we can absolutely solve. You see, the whole premise of the book kind of flips a common belief on its head. It says that influence isn't some, magical gift that only a few charismatic people are born with. Not at all. It's a science. It's grounded in the way the human brain is actually wired to process information and to make decisions. And this quote from Robert Herjavec just nails the mindset shift we have to make. We usually think the burden is on the other person to listen to us, but the book argues it's the total opposite. The responsibility is on us, the speaker, to build our message in a way that makes it impossible for them to ignore. Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we make people hear us? Well, it all starts by getting really clear on the difference between just having authority and having real influence.
The book makes this really powerful distinction. A manager, for example, might just rely on their job title, that's their authority, to get people to do things. And yeah, people will comply, they do the task because they have to. But a true leader, they use influence to inspire action. People follow them because they want to. They feel connected to a bigger vision. And this brings us to the core secret of the whole thing. The order in which you present your ideas is often way more important than the ideas themselves. Our brains are literally wired for sequence. We crave context before we get the content. If you get the sequence right, your message lands with unbelievable power.
So if sequence is the key, then what is the right sequence? Well, Rodriguez gives us a super practical tool for this. He calls it the Amplify formula. It's a simple, three-step framework that's all about structuring your ideas so they have the maximum possible impact.
Okay, step one is the frame. Now listen, this is not your main point. The frame is the context you build around your point. It could be a quick personal story, a startling statistic, a shared problem, really anything that gets the listener's brain warmed up and ready to hear you. It sets the stage. So once that stage is set with your frame, then you deliver your message. And this has to be your single, crystal clear, essential idea. You got to resist the urge to bury it in details. Just ask yourself, what is the one thing I absolutely need them to remember? That's your message.
And finally, the third step, the tie down. This is where you make it all matter to them. You explicitly connect your message to their world. You have to answer that little voice in their head that's always asking, so what? Why should I care? A great tie-down puts you in their shoes and shows them exactly what's in it for them. So that sequence is always the same. Frame first to create the context, then the message, which is your core idea, and you lock it all in with the tie-down, showing them the value. Let's look at a really powerful real-world example of this in a super high-stakes situation.
So, the book tells this great story about a woman named Janice. She's interviewing for the role of president at a huge global company. I mean, this isn't just any job interview. This is for the absolute top spot.
And at one point, the interviewers ask her this simple but incredibly tough question: who are you? Now, think about that. Most of us would probably panic and just start listing things from our resume, right? But Janice, she did something completely different. She started with a frame. Instead of talking about her qualifications, she told a personal story from her childhood about facing this really big challenge and how she overcame it. The story didn't list her skills, it established her character. She framed herself not as a candidate, but as a fighter. Then, after that frame, came her message. The result of that fight, the proof of her resilience, was this: she got straight A's her senior year. Now, in the context of her story, that wasn't just a grade anymore. It was proof of her grit and her commitment to excellence. And here's the brilliant part.
the tie-down. She took that personal story and connected it directly to the value she would bring to them. By saying, "I will fight for you and your team," she made her own personal struggle from years ago directly relevant to their future success. And, you probably guessed it, she got the job. Now, it's so important to understand that mastering this formula is not about learning some kind of trick to manipulate people. It's about developing the core skills of what it means to be an effective, an authentic, and an ethical leader. You see, the book really emphasizes that this formula only works when it's built on a strong foundation. It takes self-awareness to even know what your stories are. It takes storytelling skills to craft a good frame, emotional intelligence to understand who you're talking to, and real discipline to practice this over and over again.
And that brings us to the crucial ethical line in the sand. Manipulation. That's all about hiding your real intent to get what you want. But true influence, the way the book defines it, is the opposite. It's transparent. It's all about building trust and clearly communicating value for the other person.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Stop thinking only about how great your ideas are and start mastering the sequence in which you present them. Every single one of us has powerful stories and valuable messages inside of us. The real question is, are you telling them in the right order to make people finally truly hear you?